Okay, everyone. I assured Dr. Durant that now we can give him our full attention because we won't be dancing in our seats. I'm really excited to introduce to you Dr. Romulus Durant. He serves as superintendent of Toledo Public Schools in Toledo, Ohio. A product of Toledo Public Schools himself, Dr. Durant has received 3 degrees from the University of Toledo: a Bachelor of Education, a Master's of Education, and a doctorate degree in Educational Administration and Supervision. He has been employed by TPS since 1999, and Dr. Durant has been a 4th grade teacher, a dean, an assistant principal, a principal, and an assistant superintendent before being named to the top position in December of 2013. In Dr. Durant's tenure as superintendent, Toledo Public Schools has seen its ranking among Ohio's largest urban districts jump from 4th to 1st on the state report card because of an A grade in all student growth category in 2 of the last 3 years. Dr. Durant is particularly proud of using progressive measures such as pathways to college degrees tracked and pipelines to various industries, with the addition of 100 more industry partners offering internships. Dr. Durant currently serves on 9 community boards and has received more than 27 community awards, including the Alumnus of the Year Award from the University of Toledo's Judith Erb College of Education and a Leadership Award from the 20 Under 40 Toledo. During his years of playing football at UT, Dr. Durant twice earned the John Binder Heart and Courage Award. Dr. Durant has the same goal for today's TPS students as he had for himself: to rise up from modest means to achieve success first in school and then in life. Beth Maddie actually sent the planning committee a video of Dr. Durant being interviewed and was like, how about we ask Dr. Durant, maybe he'll come and be the keynote. And I watched the video, I was like, yes. So I'm very excited to introduce to you Dr. Romulus Durant.
Good afternoon. Whoa. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have to say it's an honor to be here amongst heroes, just as I look at each and every one of you in regard to what you do each and every day. And usually before I go and I'm out in a different city, a lot of times I have to address the elephant in the room and people begin to look at the cower. So I have to usually tell them a story that's a true story. So a lot of times in my speaking campaigns, I was in New York with, how many people know Tavis Smiley? Tavis Smiley and very big in politics. And so myself and Tavis was in New York City, and we were speaking on public education from East Coast and West Coast in regard to having the same issues in commonality. And so when we got off the stage, Tavis had went out a side door, and he had done this many times, which was my first time. And so when I got into the audience, there was a barrage of cameras just taking pictures for 20 minutes. It didn't dawn on me, they thought I was Tavis P. Smiley. I mean, they literally had to say, because I said, Romulus, they said, Tavis? And so I put AKA TPS, you know. So, but again, I speak of this because a marketing director had called me one time from out of Columbus, Ohio. And he had said, young man, I've been doing marketing for many years, and what I see in your cower is the most innovative concept of marketing I've seen in a long time. And I told him, and I said, that's because you're out of touch to what I see every day in Central City. I said, because at the end of the day, I see teenagers who are tattooing project housing and street names on their neck and on their forearms to show love to a commitment to an area. And at the end of the day, I let them and remind them at TPS of Toledo Public Schools that with an education, your purpose, that your residential situation is not your final destination. That the zip code does not remind you and keep you stuck in a situation. But at the end of the day, what your purpose of what education is support and therefore is to drive you to be successful in your own life that was seated within you. And so within this, I say that you are part of that mission. You know, I title my speech in essence to say, when I hear a person say, I'm just a nurse. And through my whole speech is going to be about that you are more than just a nurse. And that what I make is important as a superintendent, I speak with every group within the district, whether it's the bus garage mechanic, the bus drivers, food service, clerical staff, nurses, whoever they are, I make sure to get to them, because at the end of the day, we have what's called a mission and vision, where we're talking about college and career ready. But today I say college and career ready truly means you. It means you play a bigger role in college and career ready than you recognize. but through a lens of somebody who's been through the classroom, been a dean, assistant, principal, assistant superintendent, and a superintendent, and was a product of the school district. I say it's always important to know each and every shoe that the decisions you make have an impact on. I mean, I knew the decisions what it made when I was a student. I'm notorious that at the end of the day, when I see temperature that's very bad, I cancel school. Public school, for whatever reason, rain, sleet, or snow, 12 inches or inch snow, we're sending our kids. I mean, there was one time the teacher just sent a picture that had the tornadoes going on in the background. And you know how the bottom of the screen it says who's open and closed? It said TPS open. I mean, that's just how bad it was, but at the end of the day, it never made sense to me. Because as an educator, as a principal, at the end of the day, we put kids' social, emotional, and physical needs in a way and harm that always reminded me as a principal of a young boy who was coming to school, and it was 10 below. And I can remember that sometimes our parents sent our kids out without the right attire. With no gloves on, his little sister's only 8 years old, and she's walking him, he's in kindergarten, and he's just crying because he can't feel his hands. And at the end of the day, I hurried up and got him into the lunchroom, and you know how you rub their hands and everything else, but there's an image that daunts me and an image that reminds me each and every day when I look at the weather report to make a decision. And I was looking at that little young man, and you saw the tears dry up on his face, but he came to a sense of peace when he was eating his Cheerios and he was putting it in his mouth. Right, it was that image that when I saw him and saw the dried up tears, that he had finally came to a sense of peace because he walked into our doors. He's now eating, he's now warm, and he's ready to get educated. But every day that young man walks into your office to see you each and every day with dried up tears on the face. And you're wondering the situation that happened prior. Within TPS in Toledo area, we had leveraged our largest hospital industry, which is ProMedica, and saying we need your support. And so ProMedica stepped up that we funded nurses in every school full-time. Oh yeah, full-time nurses in every school. And they've invested into that commitment because at the end of the day, impact their industry just as well. Emergency rooms are flooded for simple things that could address at the school. And these are the data that they look at to see that it had a true impact. But one of the things is because now we needed more nurses, we were finding more clinical nurses coming to the school walls. Right? How many of you from the clinical field come from school to a different way of life? Oh, it's a different way of life. Some of the clinical nurses were coming in and for the first time really addressing head lice and bed bugs. I had one of the clinical nurses, when I walked in and said, how are things going? She pulled out her back a baggie with a bunch of bed bugs and shook them in my face like, look. I've been spending my whole day burning these things up, you know. I said, God bless you. But again, at the same time, truly being involved in seeing things, and the school nurses have been a huge impact in our district. I tell people, and that's when I speak to the community, because at the end of the day, I continue to seek public and private donations to continue to support the initiative, because the understanding that a school nurse is the closest thing that many of these kids have to a family practitioner. Do you hear what I'm saying? That a school nurse is the closest thing that many of these children have to a family practitioner. Not a common doctor they go to seek every 6 months or when something is happening. And so within that, we have seen a huge impact having on now not only kids who are just born, prenatal, as well as those involved. When you talk about the schools, because we have suburban schools who have no nurses. And they're telling me that they're using parents to be the nurses. Do you hear what I'm saying? They're using parents to be the nurses. And so again, we're continuing to promote having nurses at each and every school by doing the things and addressing some of the things that we see. But understand that many of the needs, you are the primary and the first immediate responder to many of these students. When I grew up during that time in the same neighborhoods, is that I'd simply watch kids who played football, broke their leg, and never had it repaired. Some of these gentlemen I see to this day and feel bad and want to talk to them because they're still limping of a leg that was broke. And I recall on the football field and all it needed to be was reset. The mom said, I told you not to play football, you're going to get hurt. You got hurt. And he's walking around a permanent limp for the rest of his life. But again, a school nurse who is there each and every day, a school nurse who is there, recognize these situations, are able to address and ultimately make things right, that mom has a philosophy that just doesn't fly well. Sometimes we wish the best, but we do the wrong thing. And sometimes we have to be there to educate, to say, understand, this young man will be permanently maimed. But again, these are the impacts that the nurses are having. At the end of the day, dressing colds, visions, stomach aches, and I can't forget the crackers. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. And they had the good crackers, not some of that store brand stuff. Not some of that store brand, the good crackers. I can tell you every now and then, you know, if you had that urge for chocolate, I used to have an urge for the nurse crackers. I was sick for whatever reason, I needed to get a cracker. She knew it. Because for some reason I said, you guys got that wisdom. You know nothing's wrong with me. But again, it truly had an impact because I still remember to this day, her name was Nurse Gossick. You're talking about over 30 years. Still remember her to this day. Because at the end of the day, she knew wasn't nothing wrong with me, and she let me know that first. She let me know it first, but at the end of the day, she knew what I came for. Never turned me away. Truly have an impact to school nurses. Understand one of the things we've done with the district, not only putting nurses throughout the school district, we now had to move to free lunches and breakfast for everyone. If we truly say that breakfast is the most important meal, then how can we charge for it? And at the same time, we begin to recognize that particularly if you're in a predominantly impoverished district, there is actually financial opportunity for you. So what we found is that 83% of our students are free breakfast and lunch. 40% is only taking part or participating. So we're not getting reimbursed for almost over 40% of these kids. So when we did the math, we recognized that if we were able to double our efforts, that we would actually provide a reimbursement that would help self-sustain the food service department instead of burdening our budget. So what we did, we gave everybody free. And I can tell you what happened, right? Because you know how there's some families, oh, I don't want my son, I don't want my child being identified as free, right? Let me give you a strategy for that. We want 5 straight days of cinnamon rolls. 5 straight days of cinnamon rolls. You know what I'm talking about. They had that odor. Listen, after the 3rd day, kids were pulling parents in, and parents was asking for free breakfast. I'm serious. Our reimbursement went up to 75%, which has now become a surplus that we no longer stretch the general budget. So when we do need more nurses, we don't have to burden our general fund because food service had taken a lot of money from. Doing things differently. So it's the same philosophy to say, well, what happens if ProMedica decide that we're not going to fund it? The plan is already in place that at the end of the day, every district is not reimbursing as its maximum of Medicaid. So exactly, so we're creating a system where ultimately at the end of the day, particularly in special needs, that we're making it user-friendly for teachers, counselors, nurses. So when you tab on this, it will automatically notify that this child has Medicaid and provide the funding for it. So that's the system we're putting in place to ultimately at the end of the day, because we know how grants are, they sunset. Now all of a sudden we're right back to half-day nurses. Can't do it. So you got to be a step ahead at all times, and that's what we're doing. So what's in that? The study we worked with the University of Toledo, we've seen a decrease of 25% in absenteeism. 25% decrease in absenteeism, and then double the rate of recommendation to clinics. Meaning that now we are making recommendations twice the rate that we've done in previous years, because we are now sending kids to the proper care opposed to them just going straight to ER, which we know that ends up happening. And so what's in that TPS in this caseload, we have 2,800 asthmatics, 85 who are receiving insulin, which is huge in the African American community. Any child under the age of 10, 1 in 2, 50% will be diabetic. Unbelievable. At the same time, we have 734 food allergies, and we've seen what happened with the EpiPen, and the prices going up, and the communication, 28 G-tubes. Here goes another one, 313 seizures. Now let me tell you a story about this. Because at the time when I was principal, we had half-day nurses. Meaning the nurse was there, then some days she's not. So guess whose responsibility to become the nurse that day? You're looking at them, right? I'm thinking I could do this, right? I could do this. So you go into the nurse's office, right? Says it's your responsibility. And every one of you pull out your toolbox, right? She pulls out her toolbox and she pulls out some sticks. I'm like, oh, chopsticks. She's like, no, this is when you check for headlights. But let me give you the other story. She used this medical term that obviously I didn't know what it was. And she called it a diastec. Didn't know what it was. I said, I got this. I got this. She handed me the box out of the toolbox. I looked at the box. I looked at the diagram. I said to her, you brought the wrong toolbox from home. Or something wrong. She says, no, Dr. Durant. In the case that this such and such has had a seizure, this is what you have to do. I said, what's the Board of Education number? I called the board that day and said, we need to have a conversation about full-time nurses. Did every one of you know what a diastec is? Okay. And my mission hasn't changed since. That's why we got full-time nurses, because of that experience. But I mean, all serious, it's a true reality that you can't expect anybody just to step in a position and take on your role. You are a true expert at what you do. So we've had about 112,000 visits. One of our schools had over 10,000 visits within this school. And at the same time, we do 35,000 medications within the district. One of the things is the nurses have been very instrumental in developing mobile vision. It's unbelievable, the data in mobile vision. We started this initiative when I first got there in 2013. We did 1,169 screenings of just K-3 kids. 80% of them needed prescription glasses. We had 5 of them who had cataracts. So we came back to next year. We did 1,010. 72 needed prescription glasses. We came back to next year. We did another 1,012. We had 3 had cataract. One was in 1st grade. The other one, brother, was in 2nd grade. And guess what his little sibling, who was only about 2 years old, what do you think he had? Signs of cataracts. All 3 members in the same family, and the mother said the children haven't been to the hospital since birth. But guess what? It was identified right there by the nurse. These children are in classroom dealing with blindness and are expected to learn. That child would have went from 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, with blurry vision, still not learning, and people are not understanding until we say, well, let's test them for special ed. The child's not special needs. It just starts to become too late. And so, again, having a true impact on these children. Let me tell you a story about the nurse that got involved. Beautiful story. So the young man had what you call lazy eye to some people. And obviously you know how to correct that if you provide a patch and put it over to strengthen the other eye. So do you think this young man wanted to walk in the classroom with a patch on and everybody else is regular, right? So guess what the nurse came to the teacher and said, we need to talk about this. So guess what she decided? We're going Pirate Day for the next 3 weeks. Every child is getting a patch, and every child wore a patch, and they did stories on pirates. Kids walking around like, arr, the whole day. And after 3 weeks, do you think the young man took his patch off? He kept wearing it. He had pride within it. We just did a unit on it. We just studied this. Everybody was wearing one. I'm keeping mine on. That truly had an impact on a young man, because understand there's only a short window of time. If you don't correct it, it's permanent. That child would have went the rest of his life having a permanent disability to some degree, had the nurse not be creative and say, let's make this a more welcoming opportunity for this child. Truly having an impact. So what's in there? We do dental sealing. Again, sending the dentist around, which we did about 2,600 abstractions, which is about $356,000 grant that the nurse had provided for to have that. You have to understand the gravity just what's in dental. And that's why I said it's important as superintendent, or if you're in a supervisory position, you've had to felt the shoes in the previous position that you work with. So as a principal, I had a young lady, her name was Rashima. Rashima had a tendency to be a little bit on edge, but Rashima was still controllable. She would always listen. Then all of a sudden it came down into a 2-week period that she was just losing it. Everything was getting to Rashima. So we tried to figure it out, and then one day she sat in my office, and you know how sometimes kids have an insecurity problem, and you think that's what it is, and she was just like this. But I began to recognize there was something going on because she wasn't doing it because of insecurity and upset. She was doing something because of pain. So I said, we'll send you to the mobile dentist. I happened to know the guy. He came over, and then lo and behold, all the nerves were exposed out of the entire bottom row of her teeth. Exposed, not just a sensitive tooth. That's just how much decay has opened it up. So you can imagine sensitivity when you feel it just in one, imagine the entire bottom row, the agitation it has just being in the classroom. Rashima went right back to normal after it was corrected. People, vision, dental, hearing, all impacts a child's physical, mental, emotional being what's in the classroom. How can a child be college and career ready if they're not open to learning? If you're not correcting it, that child's not learning. There's no way they're going to be college or career ready. Your involvement made that child be receptive, feel at peace to go ahead and to learn. College and career ready means you, each and every one of you. So what's in there, we've developed more wraparound schools. We work with United Way to where we now have medical facilities in the school. They work hand in hand with the nurses because the days that the medical facility is in the school, the nurses already make a recommendation to see the doctor. And if it's an emergency, then they already make a recommendation to the nearest clinic. A parent is more likely to go to this clinic with your recommendation than anybody else because you developed that relationship and rapport. And they had to take advantage of that, which is why it doubled the rate of parents and students taking advantage of local agencies opposed to the emergency room. So what's in the wraparound services? Social workers, mental health agencies. People, mental health is one of the most misunderstood. You have no idea what a child goes through who is struggling with mental health because they're getting it from everybody. Everybody's on that child, but nobody's really identified why that child is going there. I had the opportunity to sit and watch a panel of parents who all each of their kids had kids with mental health issues. The stories were just heart-wrenching. Parents that said, this is my child, I'm going to take care of it thick or thin, I'm going to be there with them. But it comes with challenges. I got to lock every door. I said, I got to keep one eye on them and the rest on the kids. Can never let them alone with the kids. Sometimes I have to watch my own back, can never know when this episode is coming. Some of them said, I literally live as a prisoner in my own home. That's what I like to pay because I want to see him be successful or her successful. Mental health. And at the same time, they didn't realize a child gets up in age that everybody's been ridiculing that child from whether it's in the classroom. Why aren't you acting like your brother? Your brother's getting good grades. What about you? Why are you acting up? And the child is not doing it deliberately. Just the needs haven't been addressed, and until they get incarcerated, there ought to be now someone wanting to subscribe them, and at the end of the day, they were self-subscribing to themselves drugs just to cope with the mental anguish of their disability. So again, mental health is a huge one that we work in. That's why we have mental health agencies in the bricks and borders of our school. If you're in your school, a social worker at the same time as well as a mental health agent is not as effective if you don't put them into the confines of the building. Meaning a mental health expert is able to reinforce coping skills on a daily basis just by passing you in the hall. Not when it's time for you to come down to me at 12 o'clock. It's when I'm in the hallways and you're using the restroom, how you doing today? Are you doing your coping skills? Are you breathing in and out? Are you doing all the strategies we talked about? Reinforcing on a daily basis with these kids. If you're just shipping them out and coming back, many of the times the skills aren't being transferred when they need it. Many times when they need that outlet, the opportunity, the window opportunity isn't there for them, so they just get sent home. Truly need to be involved and invest into the bricks and borders, and we do that with all of our partners. Boys and Girl Clubs shut their clubs down, and now they're operating fully within the building. Took their operational dollars and made it until they did a build out, till they reconfined the school to where it's built into the bricks and borders of the school. When kids come down, they go straight to the Boys and Girl Club. When they come down, they go straight to the Y. Get started on their homework, eat their dinner, and then go right into any other activity they prescribe within their lesson. Again, having an impact. Let's talk about wraparound schools and the partnership with the nurses as well as the impact they have on the school level. Let me tell you, before we had wraparound schools, before we had full-time nurses, what it looks like in the eyes of a principal or a teacher or a nurse. Selena, I recall this one to this day, 3rd grade. We could tell that she was having issues, and we ended up finding out she was practically blind. All the way into the 3rd grade. Now, we recognized Selena needed glasses. Let me tell you the process they had to go through. In order for us to test Selena, we got to do what? We got to get approval from the parents. Which you got to sit there and wait and find, and you got to take the paperwork, you got to drive to the house and wait for mom just to get that signature signed. That could be another week, 2 weeks. Selena's still in the classroom, can't see. Finally, you get the signature, you and your SAT team or your intervention team get together and you identify Selena has problems. We need to take her to an expert. So now you got to still go back to your signature. Not only do you got to get signatures, but you got to be able to set a date up with mom to pick mom up and Selena to take mom to the doctor just to get it done. Doctor says clearly Selena's vision is impaired. This is what she needs glasses. So now you got to work with the local CDC to get a grant, a voucher to pay for these glasses. So once you get that, you got to pick mom up again, take Selena, take her to the doctor to get the glasses. You give an 8-year-old the glasses and say, you need to hold on to this like dear life. What do you think they do 2 days later? Right? She lost the glasses. Selena. We done had 6 weeks going through this, though. Right back at it. Signatures, mom, voucher, 2 glasses, 1 for home, 1 for school. Who came up with the idea of 1 from home and 1 for school? Whose idea was that? Not exactly. It wasn't me. Don't let the doctorate degree fool you. The nurse. So that's just what we did, but at the end of the day, the wraparound school provided opportunity to say, you know what? You guys are educated, you're here to run a school, you're here to be here because a nurse can do nothing for the 600 kids if they're out running the 1 kid. People, listen to this. Nurses were Uber before Uber became Uber. Right? You know I'm not lying. You done took a lot of kids to a lot of places, and a lot of moms, and a lot of dads, a lot of uncles, a lot of grandparents to get to where they need to be. Free Uber. But again, truly having an impact. Our nurses now, they're a part of what we call a healthy advisory team that they're expected to start at each location. And so within that, they have developed activities, one with the fitness club, the other one with cardio drumming, where they use drumming, because kids are all about the acoustics as part of their exercise and health. At the same time, they do the red carpet breakfast, they do it like a marathon, that they talk about how many laps it takes to get around the school until they've actually completed the marathon. They teach teachers 50 different ways to stimulate the brain, in essence, in the classroom. At the same time, gardening, anti-bullying, smoothie makers, and now we've added recess as a mandatory aspect of the school day, so we just recently negotiated paras to assist with providing every child recess. And so again, truly having an impact working with the school nurse. At the same time, understand people, I always tell people the best intervention is prevention. When you're talking about health and when you're talking about education. And the best place to do it is early childhood education. We have looked past that and looked down on that and not looked at it enough. People, early childhood education is the greatest equalizer in essence of education as well as employment. Understand the process and understand between, we have now birth to 6 years of age that we work with. We have family counselors that work for our birth to 3 years of age. And then we ourselves work with 4 and 5. We are the second school district in the state of Ohio to have the Head Start grant, which is normally run by a local community agency, which makes no sense. Because at the end of the day, if I'm an agency and I open up a school, I need a principal, I need an operator, I need food services, I need all these busing and et cetera. But when you come to the school, we don't need a principal, it's already there. You don't need an operator is already there. Food services is already there. All that dollars that you were paying to pay for that staff, we rolled into opening more seats for kids. Provide more wraparound services into the rooms, into the school for kids. Operating much more efficient. But understand the neurological makeup of a child going between the most informative years of their life before we even see them in schools. Because understand, between 0 to 3, it's the most informative years. By the time a child is age 4, 80% of the neurological network is made up. People, during that time is when you're making up the blueprint of a child's brain. You are adding and putting things into the neurological makeup that child is used as background knowledge. 80% already developed. By the time a child is 4 years of age, they've already identified a personality. Some of you have 4-year-old teenagers walking around your house right now, right? They will tell you they no longer eat peas and other things. They developed an identity. At the same time, by the time they're 5, 90% of the brain is made up. By the time they're 6 years of age, 95% of the neurological makeup of the child's brain is now already developed. And guess when we get them for education? How can education be the greatest equalizer? You've allowed 6 years to transpire for many kids who are getting least and lack of stimulation to the mind. Then at the end of the day, how many of you say, well, I'm not good at math. My children are probably not going to be good at math. Mom's not good at math. We're just not good at math, Dr. Durant. I said, because you spoke that into that child's life. Your apprehensions became their apprehensions. I said, because let me tell you what you should have done. When that child was coming home from the hospital, you should have brought that child in a home in a room that had numbers all over the walls. The child should have been in the crib dangling and playing with numbers. The child's first 2 words should have been Pythagorean theorem. Right? You hear what I'm saying? Because we see it every day when it comes to sports. I mean, I'm from the state of Ohio. Everybody's an Ohio State fan. You got babies with Ohio State stuff on. That baby should have had numbers on, right? Now, if that child grew up, do you think that child would have been apprehensive of math? That child had neurologically been brained and stored with math into their mind. Truly doing things in how we bring up our children. Because when we take what we call crawl, kindergarten readiness assessment, 80% of the kids need intervention, 60 to 80 need intensive intervention. We start kids off every year needing intervention, to me, which is a civil rights issue, particularly in impoverished communities. But understand that early childhood development, the most sensitive time, that now they just came up with the latest research that a child during that stage, if exposed to trauma and violence in the home, will experience neurological brain damage. Permanent. That a child's ability to develop relationships with adults will now have been hampered and barriers have been brought about just through that exposure. Let me tell you experience. When a mother comes to me and she said, Dr. Durant, she said, for whatever reason, my baby is drinking more formula. Twice as much as the baby's used to. I'm not sure what's going on. And I said to the mother, are you arguing? Is there violence going on in the home? That's when she breaks down. I said, your baby is going through stress. A baby can sense stress within an environment. I said, if you don't recognize, just smile at a baby and a baby will smile back. But if you frown to the baby, what will the baby do? Start to cry. How does the baby know that that frown has created some anxiety or stress? So when there's loudness in the room, a baby feels the tension. So the baby started crying out for more formula. So she began to recognize that her environmental factor, what's going on in the home, was impacting the child. Again, early childhood education is the most informative times of a child's life. So again, in essence, vision, hearing, mental, all those things, I tell you, you truly have an impact. People understand. When kids start off, they have a thing called sight words. You don't learn sight words if you can't see, right? Sight words are developed between their informative years to kindergarten, first and second. If they lack the ability to see, they lack the ability to hold sight words that are necessary for simple reading. Their fluency is lost. I tell people between birth to third grade, kids learn to read. That's when learning to read happens. From 4th grade to 12th in college, they read for learning. If your ability of learning to read is slowed, then your reading for learning is even more slowed. I said you read your way into college, you write your way out of college, right? If you can't read, you can't write. Makes college very difficult. But I tell you, at the end of the day, passionate about what you do. You are the LeBron James of what you do, right? I'm from Ohio, people. I got to keep it Ohio. Give me a break here. But again, you are the LeBron James, you're the Ray Lewis. I'll keep it Baltimore style. You are the Ray Lewis, right? You know. You are the Ray Lewis of what you do, right? Because LeBron James could go 40 points a night and he could do all the things, but he can't do what you do, what's in the schools. LeBron James could do all the scoring and add peace to a child's life, but he can't save a life like you. I tell you people, please keep saving lives, because at the end of the day, you are truly salvaging dreams. Again, I always tell people when I leave out, I say I am TPS proud, and I tell them I'm proud graduate of high school, which is Wade High School in Toledo, Ohio, and today I'm nurse proud. Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you do, because you are just not a nurse. You are a physician, you are a trainer, you are a service agent, you are a bully expert, you are a counselor, a mentor, a coach, a child care, a teacher, and you now just recognize you were an Uber driver before Uber became Uber. Right? Again, thank you for what you do, and I hope you have a great conference. You go back to what school you're at, inspired and wanting to make a difference. And any way I could be any help, I know they post my information. Feel free to reach out to me. So again, thank you.
I told you you'd be fired up. All right, so we are actually espousing the TPS model here and providing free breakfast and free lunch. And so we are on our way to lunch. I don't want to take up too much time, but we're doing something a little bit different. You will notice when you walk into Westminster Hall that there is a discussion question on every table. And so we just want you to self-select, pick something that it looks interesting to you. There are index cards on the table. There'll be a note taker from our staff here at the law school and from NASN to take notes about what you discuss. Real quickly, just so you know what you're looking for, there will be 2 tables related to Medicaid and payment of school nursing services. Sarah Summers, who's our expert on this, can only sit at one of those tables, but they are adjacent to each other, and so yell real loud. Okay, also, what data do you want to share? There will be 2 of those tables, and again, Denise Chrysler, there's only one of you, but there are 2 of those tables, so talk loud. They are adjacent to each other. There are 3 tables on successful models to ensure that all student health needs are met. We're really trying to get at health equity issues there, social determinants of health, and the role of school nurses in ensuring that all student needs are met. There are 3 of those tables. Also, 3 tables on what legal interventions are needed to support school nurses, and then 1 table each, 1 on the role of school nurses in concussion management in schools, return to learn, and issues like that. And then finally, ask Alex. Where's Alex? Alexandra Jabs. There you are. Alex is our amazing former student. You just graduated, so you are technically a graduate, JD MPH graduate, who did all of the work for us on a 50-state survey of all the state laws related to school nursing. So if you want to know what the laws are in your state, she is the person to talk to. So Westminster Hall, walk out these doors, take a right, and go down the hallway, and then follow the signs for Westminster Hall, and we will meet you there.
Carrie, is this room going to be locked during lunch?
Good question. I do not know the answer to that. Is Arthur back there?